We're going to get right at it. What's your one word, or a short phrase, since some people cannot do it in one word, for doing business with the federal government? Good morning, Darwin. Good to see you. All right, what's your everybody, one word in the chat? Throw that in the chat. Because today we're going to connect you with experts. We're going to be discussing what works, highlighting sponsors and partners. Because why? Because why? Because why? We can't do it alone. And that's why we have systems. Lucrative. Steve Kennedy. Hang on a second, man.
Oh, Steve.
Where the heck is Steve Kennedy? Hang on a second. I'm going to promote Steve Kennedy again.
Sally, that's our friend, isn't it?
Yep.
He is our friend.
I'm promoting Steve Kennedy to panelist. Because he's one of my favorite people in the world. Where did it go? Did it work? Promote to panelist. Oh, hang on a sec. Man, there's too many people coming in here. Hang on. Steve, you here? All right. Steve-O's here. Steve Kennedy, one of my favorite people in the world. I haven't seen you on Mondays in a minute. Steve-O?
I know he's very good.
All right. Okay, so back to this. What's your one word for doing business with the government? Welcome. What does that mean, Sally White? Kiki? What?
Dangerous opportunity in Japanese.
You look that up.
I can hear you guys, but you got my video locked out.
Oh, hold on a second. I'll unlock
my
your
emoji.
video.
Yeah.
He does that, Steve. He wants to make sure.
I would too if I saw my kiss.
This is a clean.
Don't ask me. Oh, here we go. And Brian Apple's coming in too.
Oh,
hey, Dave.
Love it.
Love it. We got to get.
Hey.
All right.
Hey, Brian.
What's up? What's happening? You got.
Hey, everybody.
You got to put your face on the other half that's shaded out.
I'm sorry you have to look at me all day today. Sorry about that, Dave.
All right, fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. One word for doing business with the government. We got lucrative. Oh, geez. I have no idea why you're getting multiple emails from me, Jay.
Process.
See, now all of a sudden you're getting them, right? Some nut sent you an email, but 3 times in the past 24 hours. There you go. So Alma says convoluted. What a great word. That's a great word, Alma.
Oh, that's a good one.
All right. What's your one word for doing business with the government? How you doing, Dr. Rafael Marrero?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Fan-freaking-tastic. All right. So we love participation, don't we, Sally White?
We do love participation. This is and if you don't want to participate, Dave will just reach out and grab you.
That's right. I'll elevate you to a panelist just like I did with Steve Kennedy, and we'll just bust on you the whole time.
Yeah, so make sure you participate.
All right. So put your stuff in the chat. What's your one word with the government? If you have questions, raise your hand. Pop it in the Q&A. This is a disclaimer. We are not affiliated with any agency. That's a good thing. Isn't it, Steve Kennedy?
Amen. It means we can talk amongst ourselves.
That's right. And doesn't guarantee a contract award. I know that's shocking to everybody. And for govies or former govies, like the man who's driving with us down the road, all participation is voluntary. It's not an endorsement to buy from anybody. And we are recording this. And AI transcription is what?
Severely
prohibited. We're real people. We do real people things.
Bots allowed. Yeah.
That's right.
You might be artificially intelligent, but we're real.
That's funny.
You might be artificial in other ways.
Right.
Wait a minute.
All right, let's get to know each other. How long you been in business? Do you have any federal business now? And if you've ever been to here before, we love it. In the chat, I'm going to put in the handout so everybody gets a copy of it. So you have those. And no, I don't think we have the presentation itself, but we do have the spending report. And we'll make the recording available. So what's your one word for doing business with the government? We have awesome sauce. Cecil, love it. Awesome sauce for Cecil. Alma's got convoluted. Jay's got mind-boggling. That's hyphenated. I don't know whether that counts. Lucrative is Steve Kennedy. And process is Darwin. That is true. Anybody got a last minute? One word?
Yeah, I do.
What do you got?
I do. How about nice and smart contracting officers?
Yeah.
Nice and smart contracting officers. That's all. I'm going to put that in for you. Nice and smart contracting officers.
Oh,
All right, there you go. That's come from Brian.
thanks,
And
Dave.
can
I
anybody
appreciate that.
guess what Brian used to do for a living?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Not use Nate's codes.
Not use Nate's
I
code.
tell you what I used to do. Buy stuff as quick and fast as possible. With not too much, without too much competition.
What? That's not fair, Brian. It's not fair.
Yeah.
And let's see. Anybody else got one word? Discretionary from Julie. Julie Thompson. Awesome. Discretionary. All right. And that's why we're here, because it is, hey, if it was fast, easy, and cheap to be in this world, everybody would be able to do it, right?
That's
Right? Right, Steve Kennedy?
Right.
Now, Steve Kennedy, I tell us a little bit about you, Steve, real quick, because I elevated you awfully quick.
Yeah,
And you're
I'm
not in the
scared
slide
now.
deck. Tell us about you, and you get the first shot.
Yeah, what my organization does, I've been selling to the government since the 80s, not the 1880s, the 1980s. And we're in the business of basically carbon reducing offsite fabricated interior construction. It helps the government stretch their dollars on how they build out space.
There you go. So
we're-
you were, and you happen to be a Sam Radar member, one of my favorite people in the world, because you are.
I love it. It's great stuff. If anybody wants to figure out what's going on and not go blind staring at sam.gov, that's the way to go. So,
And we're going to talk about that today. So I appreciate the setup, my man.
hey,
All right, another three.
send me a nickel. Send me a nickel.
And it's coming, baby. It's coming, along with Sam Radar glasses. Three,
All those leads. Yeah.
2, 1 for any last minute for getting to know each other for participation. Man, we got 52% wallflowers today. I can't figure that one out. So all right, so here we go. So everybody knows what we're up against. We got folks that have been around. Most everybody's been around for a little bit. That's good news. 35% have direct federal contracts, 24% teaming, and 47% not doing any business yet. Fantastic. And 60% have been here before. So there you go. Did I share those results? There, I'm going to stop sharing. There you go. You can see them. All right. All right, good deal. Well, we're going to get cooking today. I'm going to do a quick introduction for everybody here. Steve Kennedy got the first one. Raphael, the doctor, the colonel, the crazy Cubano with the sexy glasses. Who? That's my man.
Hey,
Capability
How you doing?
statements. Go ahead. What you got? What you got?
well, no, I'm just very happy to be here and happy to help you elevate your brand in the government contracting business. It's very important to stand out, right? Very competitive market.
It is a very competitive market, and you got to stand out, or you're not, or you're just gonna get lost in the sauce. Who had the sauce? Awesome sauce. That was Cecil. You get lost in the awesome sauce. You got to be awesome, or you get lost in the sauce, right, Cecil?
Gotta be awesome. You gotta be awesome. And you gotta have some salsa to go with
You got
that.
to
right?
have some sauce. You got to be spicy.
That's it.
And,
Caliente.
and Rafa helps with capabilities statements, websites, capabilities briefings, and what I love about capabilities business cards. So if you need promotional material in the federal government from somebody who understands what the government wants to see from you,
Mhm.
that is him. And not only that, this character is and this other character,
Character, for sure.
15th, this is free. There's over 280 people already registered. If you're a former Govy, like our man Brian Hebel, where did Brian go? He's still here. Brian Hebel.
Yeah, I'm still here, Dave.
Yeah. So Brian Hebel is former Govy, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
And one of the ways that you can elevate your status is being a subject matter expert, like Brian Hebel is, and it works for Govies and commercial. Does it not, Sally White?
It absolutely does, and it works very, very well. And
Yep.
here we share formulas on how it does. So
Yes,
keep
that's a fact. So make sure you join us go to govbrief.us. I'm going to put that in here so everybody can do this. govbrief.us, and you can sign up for those. There's plenty of things that are happening, help to grow your brand, which is you. You are the brand, right, Rafa?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Very, very important to stand out.
Very important. All right, we also have Sally White with Echo Wolf Solutions. She is a connector, and I don't mean just an average connector. She's a freaking Uber connector. She's a master networker. She does miracles on LinkedIn and social media, and she also helps bring people together because she is a unifier.
Right?
She's
And
not a
special
divider.
events. Yeah.
She's a unifier. She's
The
all
glue,
encompassing
the glue.
unifier.
The
So
glue.
Nice
That's
to meet all of you. And I have to say, I know that JT, my friend Jay Talbot, will be at Navy Gold Coast next week. So if any of you all will be there, pop it in the chat and I'll look for you.
That's fantastic. Navy Gold Coast. If you're going to be there, you can meet Sally in freaking person.
Yep.
And we also have Peter Timbus, the one and the only, the guy who helps to fund federal contracts because he knows a little bit about that, right? Right, Peter?
Well, we've been doing it for 34 years. We've got a great track record. I think what separates us from the traditional lending community is we're going to lend to your opportunities rather than your financial statements, which allows companies to bid on contracts that otherwise they couldn't touch. So we provide that access to capital, that unlimited access to capital. So if you've got the ability to bring contracts in, there's no more excuse because we're going to give you the access to capital to fund that business.
Love it. And he has a QR code for your convenience right there. You can
Right there.
schedule a meeting with him right there. And we all give me 1 second, Surinder. I got you unmuted in just a second, but I want to introduce the one, the only Brian Hebel from acquisitionhelp.com. He helps with people with the FAR. He does FAR training. He does all the paper. He understands all the paperwork. Doesn't do the paperwork anymore, right? Right, Brian?
Thank God, Dave.
But he knows what the paper. Go ahead.
We train the feds and we train industry with some courses, including my favorite one is a simulated technical evaluation panel training exercise where we teach the feds how to do that. We teach the feds how to do CPARs, doing a FAR crash course tomorrow in my former agency, and really with industry just to help them manage the work they have or win new work with the training that we do. And soon to be releasing a product to help contractors with their CPARs, which we're excited about, a software product. So stay tuned.
Yes.
Right.
Nice.
And buckle your seatbelt on that one, Dave, right?
That's right. We know a little bit about CPARs, don't we, Brian?
We do.
Just a little bit about CPARs. And all right, I'm Dave Lowe. I'm the CEO of ISI Federal. We help with data and marketing and business development, help you do your business development. I used to be feet on the street in DC. Don't do that anymore. I developed GovBrief, and that allows you to be the SME in 2024. And that's what we're talking about coming up, being the SME. We also do all kinds of training, a lot like Brian. You'll see Brian at the bottom of that list right there. The FAR crash course is what he's doing tomorrow, right, Brian?
Yep, I'm actually doing it twice. Once with industry and once with my former agency, the Medicare headquarters.
That is beautiful. So if you're interested in becoming an expert, this is important. This is important. If you're interested in becoming an expert and presenting to govies like Brian does or like we do and train govies and work for govies, we can do that. If you want to train industry, you can do that too, because we love to do that. We have SAM.gov opportunity, becoming a government SME. Get on govbrief.us and start registering for these, because we already have 280 for the second one there with Raphael.
That's incredible.
Huge. It's a big deal. So come on, check it out. We have getting paid for equitable adjustments, SBA protest, CMMC with our man Todd Crane, also a SAM Radar member. Very important if you're doing anything in defense industrial base and you're wondering how you're going to do the lift as a small or medium-sized business, because a CMMC not going away. So check that out on GovBrief. You can also talk about contract flow down. This is an important thing as well. As a subcontractor, know what you have to be doing. Then Nora's going to be talking about evaluating RFPs with AI, using AI to develop RFPs. And finally, we have Denise Lawrence talking about for-profit grants. Bet you didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. And in
She's
fact,
great.
if I'd have known it was a thing, they would have paid $500,000 for me to develop this thing up here called Sam Radar right here.
What were you thinking? What
I
were you
don't know.
thinking?
I didn't know Denise back then.
Man.
And I keep blaming her for that. She's the one. So, and we also do on demand. So you can check everything out on GovBrief. Again, that's govbrief.us. You can find it there. Sam Radar will be talking about that today. Why? Because Q4 is here. And here are the hot seat questions, ladies and gentlemen. What do contractors need? Number one, what do contractors need to do to win in Q4? Two, what's most important to contracting officers like Brian Hebel? And three, what do you need to do to monitor for activities? How do you monitor for the activity that's coming down the pipe? And then finally, and there's a bonus, does Sam Radar help? I always love to hear that, especially from Sam Radar users and members like Steve Kennedy and Mr. Talbot. So let's talk about what's happening now before we jump into those questions. Everybody's got, here, just look at the questions one more time. Everybody, you good with these questions? Sally?
Yep, I love this
Peter?
question. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Peter and Rafa?
Yes,
And
sir.
Brian, you're driving, so you're not allowed to read the screen.
Yeah, but you know what? I know the answer to the one question. Everybody better answer it the same.
Okay. Don't say anything, Brian. That's a great
I'll
teaser.
tell you when you get there.
That's right.
I'll tell you when you get there.
Tell you when you get there. All right. So here's what's happening right now. Now, all this is data that's provided by people that are contracting officers, just like Brian Hebel was, submitting things into fpds.gov. That's all the contract awards that get put into fpds.gov and sam.gov. So both of those are government systems. Everybody understand what I'm talking about? Everybody get me?
Yep.
Now, I'm going to show you something that you probably didn't know, unless you're a Sam Radar user, right, Steve Kennedy? Because you already know this. So he's in for the ride for a recap, right, Steve-O? So this is done by number of offers received. This goes to whether they're not reported. Brian Hebel, what does it mean when it's not reported?
It's not reported.
Yeah, if the number of offers received is not reported, how many is that?
Not reported. Oh, you mean, yeah, it's yeah. That means I think it's one, personally.
That's right.
That's what I always assume.
And I've talked to contracting officers like Brian for many years. That's what this means. One offer received.
Not reported, it's blank.
That's blank.
I would say, yeah, it's blank. Right.
It's blank. So this means usually, now there's always an outlier, right, Brian?
Yeah.
There's always an outlier, but the vast majority of the time, this means one. And I mean vast majority, it's like 1,000 to 1. So that's what we're talking about. Everybody following me now?
100%.
All right. Now, take a look at how many are adding the percentage. 79% of contracts and 61% of the dollars. This is different than anything. 2019, this was 36%. Now it's 79% and 61%. Take a look at this. 5 or fewer, 88% of the contracts, 93% of the dollars. 5 or fewer offers received. That's because contracting officers like Brian Hebel have people that they shortlist so that, why, Brian? Because you love competition, just what?
Not too much of it.
Not too much. So you prefer you prefer 5 or fewer, don't you?
Yeah, 3 or 2 is great.
3 or 2 is great. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. So my question is, if we're talking about this, where do you want to spend your time? Do you want to spend your time where you're more than 5, or do you want to spend your time where you're less 5 or fewer? More than 5? More than 5? 5 or fewer. Where do you want to spend your time? And take a look at this. 112,000 up against 4.5 million and change. The delta here, ladies and gentlemen, is 4,460,004 contracts as of the 31st of July. Because this report we just ran this report at the end of last month. So this is the reason why we're looking at this. Look at this, 2.47%. This is why we built Sam Radar, because you can't win what you never see. Does everybody believe that? If you can't see it, you can't possibly win it.
Mm-hmm.
That
Amen.
is a fact. How are you going to compete for something you never saw? And oh, by the way, we're at 97.53% right now, and that's going to go to 98%. So here's what we have. The 2-minute challenge for everybody. Can you, in 2 minutes, review your email, contact a buyer, ask for a meeting, or ask for a referral? Can you do that in 2 minutes? Because if you can, then we're going to give you access to 98% that never shows up on sam.gov. That's what Sam Radar is built to do. All right, now that I got that going, hot seat question number 1. What do contractors need to win in Q4? Go ahead, Sally White. What do contractors need to win in Q4?
So
What do
basically,
they got to do?
I need to understand who is winning in my particular area so that when I speak with someone, I can be informed. Because a lot of these individuals who have remaining budget left, if they have some grants left, they want to know that what I can accomplish. I can also, at conferences, I can walk up to different individuals, connect with people, and basically understand where they are. And then last but not least, I basically need to have my capability statement, everything ready, so that if they do want to give money to me, they do want to utilize some of those remaining dollars, they can absolutely do so.
So get informed and have your information ready.
Absolutely. And also be, have your LinkedIn page up to date so that when you do meet someone by going to Sam Radar or connecting with someone, you can connect with higher level individuals, connections, et cetera, because there is money out there and you want to be ready. And you also want to be ready for when it changes in October. It's very important.
That's true.
Hey, Dave.
So,
Hey, Dave.
yes, sir.
Hey. So I was just having breakfast with a colleague, and they're not a prime, but they're a sub. But he was just telling me, and this goes to Sam Radar. He was just telling me that the way they ended up getting some work, and they're staffing about 30 employees. They don't have any prime work, but they saw that this company won this contract, and they reached out to them, and that the contract needed some help staffing it. So they make a long story short, now have 30 people working for this. They weren't on the winning side, they were on the losing side, but they still reached out to the company, and now they're staffing it with 30 people.
So you're telling me that there's money at sub to prime too, Brian? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah. And well, in this particular case, they didn't win the work, but they had the prime, the one, reach out to them and basically say, we need some help staffing it. And that's what they are, a staffing company. And anyhow, just FYI, I know that, Sam Radar, that kind of leads into what you're doing with it.
That's exactly right. So what you're talking about is you can actually ask the buyer for a connection within that company as well. Because sometimes those companies are pretty big, right, Brian? Some of the folk, Miter and those guys that are doing a lot of work with CMS, they're pretty big companies, right?
Yep.
Yep. All right. So I appreciate that. We'll talk about how you can exactly do that with Sam Radar in just a minute. So, and Cecil says point of contacts and company info, right? So you need to know who to go after, right, Cecil? Love that. Rafael Marrero, what do contractors need to do to win in Q4?
The single most important thing from a branding perspective, Dave, is to have an updated and relevant capability statement that resonates with their buyer, right? The biggest mistake that I've seen time and again is like when people take their resume and shoot the same version of their resume to all employers or prospective employers, right? And they're just basically cranking out the same information and singing the same tune to everyone. They're not resonating with their specific audience. One of the things that I've learned to do is tweak that capability statement to make it opportunity specific or agency specific, which is very, very important because it tells the contracting officer that you've taken the time to actually speak to what they're looking for, which is very important, Dave. Number two, you need to have an updated SAM and dynamic small business search profile. You need to look at it at least twice a year. Think of your SAM profile just like, the way you would look at your credit report. Look at it twice a year, at least twice, maybe 3 times to be optimal. And the reason for this is, Dave, at a very minimum, you need to look at it once a year when you're renewing it, right? But then like halfway through the year, if there's any relevant past performance that you want to update on your DSPS profile, or any changes in your NAICS codes, or any new PSC codes that you're serving, very important to have those on there, right? Muy importante, very important. Also, make sure that the contacts listed in your POC information, that all of that information holds water, that the right people are listed, that those phones are being answered, that you don't have any typos, believe it or not, on company numbers and email addresses, because that can mean the difference between getting contacted and not. Last but not least, Dave, this is one thing, and here's a freebie, right? Make sure that your capability statement is linked to your dynamic small business search profile. If it is not, then you are missing the boat, and you are missing out on the biggest opportunity to promote your brand on this free platform provided by the Small Business Administration. Those would be my perspective, my pointers as a GovCon branding expert.
So what I'm hearing is it lines right up with what Sally was talking about,
Mhm.
being prepared.
Mhm.
Update your capability statement. Love what Cecil just said. My capability statement is very generic. Most everybody's is, Cecil. You're not the only one, right? So that being able to tailor it to the agency is what I heard. And also for your generic one, the one that has, that kind of resonates with a buyer, more of the buyer, make sure that that's on your SAM, DSBS, and linked to your profile, right?
That's correct. And there are 4 flavors of your CAPE statements that you're going to have. If you need help with those, we'd be happy to give you a hand.
So mine is, we know that they're going to be responding, right? You want to be able to review your things and respond effectively, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I do want to lead into some of the strength and building strength in your responses. And Peter, yours I want to funnel into 2 different places, because of what you do is very unique in the marketplace, because you know how to make sure that the company looks financially viable to be able to handle a contract. Like if you have $1 million company, you get a $10 million deal, you work a lot with 8 A's, right? Right, Peter? And you're mutified, I think. You're saying brilliant things, man. I know you are.
Yeah, I was talking to myself. I do that a lot.
So one of the things that's important is that when you're doing a submission, like when you're doing a bid response, because you want to be able to crank those bids out, right? That you look as strong as you possibly can. Just like Rafa's talking about looking strong on DSBS, you're talking about looking strong in the RFP, right?
That's right. Part of the vetting process when contracting officer is looking at a company is financial responsibility. So that means that should they award the contract to you, you have the financial capability to perform. How we handle that with our clientele is we will provide our clients with a financial letter of support that will accompany their bid, telling the contracting officer, should they award this contract to the company, that we will be there to financially support them. I've got one that I'm working on this morning. The company's revenue is $6 million. This was a referral actually from Capital Bank, from Capital One, where it's a $6 million company. They're bidding on a $36 million contract, but they need a letter of financial support for $9 million. Number one, try to get a financial support letter out of a bank. It's almost impossible. We're doing our due diligence now. Probably it's got to be in by August 23rd. We will probably have a letter to that company this week supporting that $9 million letter of financial support on that contract, which really ups the game for that company. Just as an aside, to discuss what Brian had mentioned about the prime getting a contract, the sub getting a contract with the prime, I would say that 50% of our portfolio, we are funding the payroll for those 30 people that are working for the prime, because they're working for the prime. They're going to work a month. They're probably not going to get any funds in for 60 days. So we can provide funding, payroll funding, for those subcontracts that working on primes.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. And Sally has stepped out for just a minute because she's fixing some Zoom issues. Steve Kennedy says, apologizes, being pulled away, trying to do gov business. So he says, Sam, radar makes it easier to chase the Fed opportunities. And I agree with that. Peter, do you work with JVs? Absolutely, you do.
Absolutely, we do. And the advantage to working with us, if you go to a bank with a JV, neither the JV usually don't have any experience. We'll do a brand new JV or an existing JV. We work with JVs all the time.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, so I'm going to ask this next question, which is, what is the biggest issue with selling to the government? What is your biggest issue? And I haven't done one of these before, so I know that it's a fill in the blank answer. So we'll see how many folks have the ability to fill this out. I do want to say that we'll pop open this next question, which is, what is most important to contracting officers? So be thinking of that when we're asking. So most of the folks that I talk to in dealing with their biggest issue with selling to the government is they really don't understand the whole process, right, Rafa? A lot of times. Yep. If they're new. Now, other folks, as you get more mature into the marketplace, so Brian, you do a lot of work with folks that have already won contracts. That's where you're going to care about the FAR, right, Brian?
Yep.
You don't care about the FAR unless you won something, right? So, and you don't care about CPARs because you don't have CPARs unless you win something, right, Brian?
Right.
So when we're thinking about this, your concerns will change over time and your biggest issues will change over time. But most of the time when you're dealing with, at least with doing business and growth, it has to do with finding the right people, right?
Yep.
Knowing what to say once you're engaged with those people, then engaging, right? Finding them, engaging them, and then knowing what to say to continue to build a relationship. Because I don't care what anybody says, people still buy from people they like, right? Right, Rafa?
Absolutely, they know, like, and trust. Yeah.
So let's talk about what's most important to contracting officers. We'll close this. We're going to close this poll down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and last minute. Any last second? All right, here we go. And I have no idea how to share these results. Can I see these results? I can view the details. Let's see what it says.
Polls and quiz.
Here we go. This is brand new. So everybody's on the same journey I am. Ready? Anticipating protests and legal expenses. Wow, that's a good one. Communication. NAICS codes. We provide very niche service that's not included in any NAICS or niche. Especially with people like Brian who don't care about a NAICS code, even if it is in your NAICS code.
I don't care about a NAICS code. I still haven't heard the right answer yet. Right. Everybody's failing so far.
Failing. Competing with larger companies, standing out from your competitors. I'm actually participating in advance of need of learning the language. All right. Getting a meeting, getting in front of their face to do a capabilities briefing. Access to decision makers, marketing our ultra niche technology, getting to actually talk with a real person, especially a technical personnel. I don't know how to engage them and find the right contacts. Currently only use sam.gov. How to find and engage decision makers. Find the deal. Knowing where to spend your time to win your first. Knowing the specifications of proposals and supporting documents and knowing where to start with no experience. There you go. I love that one from BEPC Inc. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. I wasn't sure if that was going to work or not. So there we go. So all right, Brian, Mr. Former contracting officer for federal agency for 34 years. What's the most important thing to you?
Spend the money. Spend the money, David. I was wondering if somebody was going to say that or not, but I think they might have been looking at it from their perspective, but from my perspective as a contracting officer, it's all about spending the money in the fourth quarter.
That's right.
Right.
So,
But anyhow, but I was thinking the one person mentioned about contacts and like Sam Radar, if you want to get the contacts of what we're buying, that's what Sam Radar does.
see that? I love when
Spend
he
the
talks.
money.
Spend
Like
the
Jerry
money.
Maguire, show me the money.
Show me the
But
money.
it's spend the money.
Show
But
me the
that's all
money. We're not going to say what he said after that.
Yeah, but the other important thing is how do we get to you? So, don't waste your time going to talking to somebody unless you have a way for them to get to you based on the way that agency buys in most cases. I wrote a book in 2015, and I'm not pushing my book, but how to market and sell to the government. And I came up with 8 reasons why you should meet with the government. But the basic 4 is number 1, help them solve a problem. Number 2, save money. Number 3, tell them about industry trends. And number 4, tell them about new technology. That's probably your best 4 ways of getting in to meet the government.
You mean to tell me that when you wrote a book, it elevated your status so that people actually listen to you, Brian?
Yeah, it was 15. I retired in 17, but I'm not the smartest guy, but you write a book and people think you're real smart. But anyhow, I'm a contracting officer, right? What do you expect?
Hey,
look,
man.
But with that said, I would meet with 2 contractors a week, probably for the last 10 years of my career. And I saw, the mistakes they were making, but sometimes people would come in and I would say to them, how do I get to you? And they would say, you know what? I really never thought about that before. So you do have to do some homework to make sure you're on a vehicle or you need to figure out a way to team. And if you haven't done work in an agency before, a lot of it is really teaming with a contractor that's already there or subbing to learn more about the agency before you try to get in by yourself. If not,
Yeah, I could not agree more. So first things first, let's just review a couple things about Brian. Now, these are stereotypes that I think are true. You tell me if they're right. First of all, right now, contracting officers are busy. Their hair's on fire right now, right, Brian?
Yep.
They got crap tons of things to buy, and they have limited time to do it. So, second thing is, now Brian was a lot nicer than a lot of the contracting officers that you'll find out there, because he would meet with contractors, a couple times a week, Brian?
Yeah, twice a week, always.
So when you hear from your OSDBU or small business liaison, they won't meet with, contracting officers won't meet with you. They will meet with you if you present yourself properly. Now, I will say this.
Yeah.
What's that, Rafa?
If you bring some value to the table, I mean,
Bring
come
some
on.
value,
So
right?
the last conference where I was, and Dave, my video's not showing. I had
Oh,
to
there you go. I got you. I got you up here. Sorry about that, Sal.
That's okay. No, it was so the last conference I went to, I was talking with a lot of the OSDBUs from these really large primes, and they were telling me how people will walk up to them at conferences or call them and say, I'm a small women-owned business, or I'm an 8A, or I'm a disabled veterans-owned business. And they said, we don't care about that. I mean, half the people here, or more than half the people here, that's why you're here.
Yeah. So what do you do? What can you do for me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly what Dr. Raphael said.
Yep.
Mhm.
So much. So, risk averse. We're going to talk about that specifically because I believe this is one of the key areas that we have to focus.
Yep.
They don't like new things, which means if you're new, like the 43% here that are new, they don't like you. It's nothing personal. They don't like you. They just don't know you well enough to do it, but relationships trump everything. They are experts in moving paper, which means they spend a lot of money. Brian Habel, how much did you spend a year in your organization?
$7 billion.
$7 billion. Insane. All right. So, and what Brian's talking about is he's looking for the purchasing mechanism, how he can get to you. So then he develops the contract documents, and he wants by far the fastest way to purchase. Why is that, Brian?
Because I got a lot of other work to do. In fact, like a lot of times, industry thinks contracting officers are spending our time working on new procurements, but probably for every new procurement they probably have 10 contract modifications they're negotiating. So a whole lot going on behind the scenes and more than just maybe one particular award or recompete that you as industry are thinking about.
I love it.
It's a really good point.
Let's take a look at this. I'm going to do this real quick. If for the folks that are new, that don't understand kind of how it works, right? You from the top level, you have your political appointees. President comes in and he winds up switching people out at the top of the agencies. Then you have your SESs. They're the senior level folks that are responsible for running the agencies. Those people don't change usually, even when there is a change in November, right? So then you have two different sides of the house, the program side of the house and the procurement side of the house. Program, this goes to the effectiveness of your capability statement, right, Rafael Marrero? They care
Absolutely.
about getting the job done. That means what can you do to help them solve their problems?
Right.
And then these other people care about getting the contract done. They're the Brian Hebels of the world. They care about getting the contract done. Shoom, 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 moving that paper. Now, Brian never determined a procurement from scratch. That's not his job. His job is to take a need from the program people. The program people say, I got to get this job done. We need to hire somebody to do it. They throw it over the fence to contracting because program people are restricted by law from spending the money for the most part. In the session handouts, you'll see a winnable opportunity matrix. This is the contracting officer. This is the program manager. The program manager throws it over the fence to contract. He says, buy this for me. And that is what creates an opportunity, which ultimately we want to have an award, right? Which is managed, by the way, by the program manager to get the job done and the contracting officer who pays you. Everybody tracking with me on how this works?
Yeah.
Now, contracting officers right now, they're going nuts because they have a lot of money to spend. We already looked at some of the dollars earlier. I'll give you some access to some reports so that you can see those, but you can see what happened in 2023 in the handouts, and you can go to Sam Radar and get the latest of what's gone so far. I think it's in 400 billion territory or something.
Yep.
We'll take a look at that in a minute. So I have a question for everybody. Who controls the acquisition process? Brian, who controls the acquisition process?
Contracting officer.
Contracting officer does. Everybody get it? That's why contracting officers are very, very, very important to us. Don't ignore them. Don't say, well, they can't do the scope of work, so I don't even want to talk to contracting officers. Rubbish. The contracting officers are responsible for selecting the purchasing mechanism. And Brian, how many contractors did you want to take a look at?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. 2 or 3. That becomes part of our process, right? All right, so my next poll is going to be about, do you need help? Do you need help with contracting officers? Do you need a strong capability statement? Do you need to know who they are? I know I had some people said that. There were 3 or 4 people that said that. I don't even know where they are. So make sure you pick those. And if you need a letter of financial support, again, one of the biggest things that we need to do once there's an opportunity, right, Peter, is to mitigate the risk.
Yes.
Right? We need to mitigate the risk for Brian in order to be on that short list of 3 or 2. We need to, if we're not mitigating the risk, if we're not solving a problem, if we're not giving him the easiest way to buy from us, right? If easy is good and he wants the fastest way to purchase, hey, let's give him what he needs. Let's give them exactly what they need. And if we don't have that contracting mechanism, because sometimes, Brian, you may be forced to buy from a particular contract vehicle, right?
What do you mean forced?
Like if it's a IT purchase and you have to go to a FSSI contract or something like that. Did you ever have a mandatory contract you had to go to?
Well, there could be some internal IDIQ contracts you had to use, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Internal to CMS or HHS, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I think NIH now is kind of being mandated to use CIO SP3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mandated CIO SP3. And if you're not on a CIO SP3 or 4 now, right? If you're not on that vehicle, and Brian is like, I got to go to there first, then you better be teaming with somebody, right, Brian?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most important thing is to learn how they buy, right?
Exactly.
How they buy.
Hey, David.
Yes, sir.
David, in addition to the financial responsibility, a contractor really has to know what your cost of financing is going to be as you're bidding on a contract.
Mhm.
3 months ago, we stepped in on a federal government food service company with 137 employees. They thought the government was going to pay very quickly. Well, they didn't have any financing in place. So we stepped in, and within 4 days, we provided payroll financing for 137 people that if we hadn't been there, the company would have defaulted, which meant they wouldn't have gotten any further federal government business. And we saved the job of 137 families.
I
And
mean,
so if you're, this is one of the key pieces for everybody. Mitigate your own risk too, right, Rafa?
absolutely. You need to
Mitigate your own risk. Mitigate your
Yeah.
own risk, right, Peter? You need to make sure
Absolutely.
you're limiting your own risk. And oh, by the way, contracting officers want you to do that. And one of the things that I will say is this. Again, the 2-minute challenge for everybody. Can you review your email and contact the buyer and ask for a meeting or referral to the prime, which is exactly what Brian was talking about, so that you can get to the other 98%. And I'm going to do this on the fly live, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This is Sam Radar. These are awards. This is exactly what Brian was talking about. Here's an award for $760,000. Take a look, ladies and gentlemen. $760,000 awarded just the other day. Hang on, I just wrote over the most important part. How many offers received? How many offers, everybody?
Who knows?
Uno, one. That means $760,000 being spent with this company. Ever heard of IO Vistra Solutions? No, I've never heard of them. But guess who knows them? Jonathan does. And if you go ahead and you reach out to Jonathan, first of all, you can reach out to the prime directly, just right here. You can go here and say, hey, I want the contracting people at the prime, or I advise you to do this. Hey, Jonathan, can you give me the person that's running this contract at IO Vistra? And then you create a referral from Jonathan to the prime, and you are positioning yourself properly. 2 minutes. Everybody got 2 minutes that can do that?
Yep.
Is there anybody that doesn't have 2 minutes that can shoot over a very simple email and ask either for a meeting with Jonathan, because you want to pick up some of the crumbs of the other parts of the contracts that aren't showing up anywhere else? But right now, as we get closer to September, listen, Jonathan is busy. So you can't go having an hour meeting with them right now. They're not going to do it. But they can answer a very simple question. And that could be, hey, how did that contract work? That's a very simple question. How do you prefer to buy what I do? So that's when we take a look at that. Listen, Q4 is here. We got to be getting it noodled in. So now, finally, how do you monitor for activity? I know how I monitor for activity. I'm going to show you what Steve Kennedy just talked about before. How do we monitor for activity? How do you do it? Rafa, how do you do it?
you have to stay, well, first and foremost is you have to constantly reach out, right? And you're going to also look at Sam Radar. Because if you're waiting for Sam, you're done, right?
So for those of you who are interested in opportunities only, Sam Radar also shows you the 2% that show there. That's
Right.
important.
Right.
So as we're doing this, I'm going to end this poll. Appreciate that. We have a bunch of folks that need to talk with each one of us. So I appreciate that very much. So we will make sure you get the information that you need. All right, guys, whoever responded to that. So as we take a look at this, we have opportunities that are hitting. One of the most important things that is going to happen at the end of this year is that the time frames are going to shrink. Why do they shrink, Brian Hebel? How come the contract timelines shrink so much to be like a day? How come, Brian?
Because there's not enough time to do the procurement.
That's right. They don't have enough time to run the whole procurement. We saw it last year. We had an RFI that came out on the 28th for looking for service disabled sources sought. 28th. 29th was when that was due. They released that on the 29th. They released it as a service disabled set aside that was due on the 30th. Why is it due on the 30th, Brian?
Because they're crazy, or they probably are. They probably already have somebody they want to reaward it to the incumbent. So stay away from it.
So, but they got to spend all their money. right, Rafa?
Oh, they do have to spend the money, but
They've got to spend
they're
it.
not going to get any. They're not going to get any proposals coming in today, other than an incumbent, I would presume.
Or somebody that was in on it at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You would have to know about it beforehand in order to be able to turn that around. And that's
Yeah.
why with and I want to show you something, which is the year-to-date spending report. I'm going to pull that up right now. But as we're looking at opportunities, we need to know as quickly as possible. If we're going to snipe somebody that doesn't have the resources, right? Everybody is limited in resources, right, Sally? Everybody's limited. So therefore, we need to see it as quickly as possible, be ready to respond. And if we have a good proposal, maybe even use an AI with Voltron, just saying, we're talking about that on GovBrief. But if you have your past performance in order and you have the ability to turn that around, I have seen it happen where if you have 3 or 4 days, you can turn these around.
I just have to give an example of why working with someone like Dr. Marrero is so helpful. So I have a client who had an opportunity to get on a GSA schedule, and literally they had a week to submit. And so they didn't have a government page. They barely had a website. And so if you're prepared by reaching out and having Raphael help you, getting your branding on, getting your game ready, having Peter help you with letters of financial support, and even prior upstream, making sure that you understand the data, and that's having Dave and his team help you. Then when something comes your way, because you never know what's going to happen, a friend, a conference, something, you can be ready and you're not scrambling, because it takes so much just filling out sometimes the proposals unsolicited, what they want you to do just to get in the game, that you don't have time to be thinking of how do I get my brand on, how do I get my government page. And so really, plan ahead, because it will come. If you keep coming to the Monday roundtables and come to these meetings, you will discover something. You cannot come all the time and not get business. So just make sure you're prepared, and everyone here, including Brian, of course, are here to help you and support you in that, government contract.
Mhm.
Yep, that's what we're here for. To be able to help you get to where you want to go. Everybody wants to win, right? You're not sitting here listening to us knuckleheads just because we're good looking.
Yeah.
I know that's not the case. As sexy as Peter is. All right. So real quick, I want to show you this that you can get on Sam Radar. This is the latest report for year to date. As I mentioned, we're at 436 billion, by the way, and 112,000 has hit sam.gov and 44.5 million. Right. This is the information that I was showing you earlier. And this report is available to you, which includes the newest winnable opportunity matrix. We always want to know ahead of time. That's this right here. We want to know at least 60 days in advance. We don't have 60 days anymore, do we, Rafa?
No, not even.
Not even 60 days left, right?
No, we have like 46 days, right? Or so 47 days.
So one of the things that Brian was talking about is the incumbent has an unfair advantage, always has an unfair advantage, because they're in the ear of the Brians of the world as well as the Marias, who's a program manager, right? Right, Brian?
Yep.
She's a program manager, and then Maria comes to Brian and says, I got to do this. And Brian's like, I don't have enough time. So they do things like, I don't know, a logical follow-on or something like that. Right, Brian?
Well, it should be in every contractor's toolbox.
It's everybody. So it should be everybody's toolbox. Now, a logical follow-on only benefits the incumbent. That's the only one that it benefits. Because it means, hey, I don't have time to do this, so I'm going to give you an extension. What's the longest extension you ever gave with the logical follow-on, Brian?
Well, I don't remember. I've been retired 70 years, Dave. I can't even remember what I had for dinner last night.
But take a guess. What's a normal logical follow-on?
Well, normally a logical follow-on would be a year, 2 or 3 years. If there's, but I could just tell you, I had somebody call me up, and the program office loved them.
That's these guys here, right?
But,
the PM.
But they were going to have to compete to work. I said, well, what was it? And it was, I don't remember if it was a GSA or IDIQ. I said, well, do you know what a logical follow-on is? And they said, no. I explained to them where it is in the FAR. I said, go talk to your program manager about it. Probably in the federal government, if you went around to 99.5% of the program managers probably none of 99.5% have no idea how to do essentially a sole source via a logical follow-on. So you educate them on how to do it and show them, but lo and behold, in this case, the person called me back about 2 months later. Yeah, we got a logical follow-on. They just, did a logical follow-on and they got a new contract that way.
So, ladies and gentlemen, do you see what just happened there? There's a different way to minimize the number of competitors, right? No competition, right? This is what the incumbent is doing. So what we need to do is we need to monitor, we need to engage with those people, we need to build relationships. If we're on the outside looking in, we need to be able to elevate ourselves from the Bryans in the world, from not knowing us at all, to at least them knowing us. And that's how we get into the green.
Just one other point for the people that are on. If you go into the FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulation, and you look in FAR Part 8 or FAR Part 16, look exceptions to fair opportunity, and you'll see it. It's a logical follow-on in the interest of economy. Just FYI.
And there you go. If you want to read the FAR, you have at it. He actually has the FAR. He's not in his office, so I'm not going to ask him to grab it because it's like this thick, and it's got all kinds of sticky notes in it because this guy knows the FAR backwards and forwards. And you can leverage that same knowledge with contracting officers because you can take them information because not every contracting officer knows the FAR completely, right, Brian?
Nobody knows everything.
Nobody knows everything. So I want to point everybody to what I just did in the link right there. Sign up for this. What is this going to do for you? I'm going to show you what it does for you. It takes you to this, which means you're going to be reviewing the report that I just put out there. And you can go and just do yourself a favor and hear how Sam Radar is going to help you get to the place where you want to go. The challenge that we have is when you're doing these when you're monitoring for activity, right, on sam.gov, you want to get to know as fast as you can because that will give you the time to be able to spend on yes. So we're going to be talking about that today. This is my selfish push for sam.gov tutorial. You can get that on govbrief.us. I'll be doing this at 1. Rafa, you're hanging out with me too?
I am, sir.
Oh,
All right, fantastic. And then what we're talking about is the 2% on sam.gov. We talk about 98%, 11 months of the year. I'm telling everybody to do exactly what Brian was talking about. Get to the contracting officer and get to the prime so you can sub and team. That's your role. Build relationships. Everybody with me?
yep.
When we click over to September 1st, then I'm going to be pressing everything for 1 month only. And we're going to say, hey, we're going to go out at whatever we can snipe. We're going to talk about getting the stuff that you can win, minimizing their risk. But for right now, I'm telling you, review your email and contact the buyer. You still have time to do it and ask for a referral to the prime. You're going to do this in October if you didn't win it too, right? Right, Brian? This is going to be your focus. There's going to be 1 million contracts awarded in September. 1 million.
Dave, and you didn't give enough accolades to yourself for being the data guy with the tool, because when it comes to data, when it comes to data and thinking outside the box and getting ways to try to win new work, Dave, the data and the way you think is just pretty amazing. And I've been working with you for a long time, and I'm not saying that because just for selling stuff, but you're the data man. I think I'm a really good data guy and do a lot of training on data, but you are the man.
Oh, it's true. And I just have to add before I bounce, I have another Zoom call, but when I go to conferences or talk with individuals or new clients, I never do it without taking Dave in my pocket, Dave and the team. And how I do that is I get my Sam Radar.
That's a big ass pocket.
Or a bag, right? A big conference bag, right? A tote bag, right?
Then when I go to conferences, and there's another service that Dave does that he doesn't really talk about that much because he's so humble.
Oh, man.
And that service is when I go to conferences, he runs reports for me because I look at all the primes who are going to be there and who I plan on connecting my brands with at the matchmaking session so that we and they can come equipped. So that's another consulting services that Dave and the team is just so phenomenal at. So anyway, good to see all of you. I got to jump.
Awesome. She's got to go. Regina, what should we do after we hang up? Did you give suggestions? Yes, I can. Here you go. I'm going to say this. First of all, let us know where you need some additional help. And that's actually a wild one, of being able to help you out immediately. And I would say sign up for Sam Radar, #1. Just do it. You're going to get continual support. You get access to Monday roundtables. Way too much fun for we just have a good time, and we get into what you can do every single day, Regina. Every single day of give you, hey, this is going to land in your inbox. Here's what you want to do with it. So do yourself a favor.
Schedule one-on-ones with the team here, because we will get on a free call with you, 15 minutes on our calendar, 30 minutes, and we will look at your website. We'll look at your LinkedIn page. We'll give you free advice because you're part of this group and part of the Dave Dream Team. So we're happy to help you in any way we can.
And we just love it. We got 48 days left. Brian, you're the man. Thanks for coming. Rafa, I'm going to see you in a little bit. And everybody, go to govbrief.us so that you can learn how to write your own book so you can act as smart as Brian Hebel.
That's it.
That's it. That's what you need to know. And you can engage Sally White anytime. Sally, I know she put her stuff into the chat. Make sure you get that. Hit this with your QR code. She's the only one with a QR code. We need to amend that and append that, because Peter cannot be the only one. Get your funding worked out. Here's Brian Hebel's information. As I mentioned before, this guy has been through it. He is an insider. He is the one that can help you and understand the inside stuff. Take some of his training, take some of my training. We'll talk about sam.gov today. Join us today at GovBrief. Go to govbrief.us. I am here. I'll put that back in here since people are asking for it. .us, because you want to check out especially the stuff that's happening just check it all out and you'll see all those pieces. All right, we really appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you sign up for a free trial of Sam Radar. Let the system do the work for you, and we're not getting together on June 9th. Whoever made up this slide deck needs to be fired. But just know it's the second Tuesday of the month. I just should say that every time. That would save me from having to do this. Charity, are you still here? Hang on a second. Is Charity still here? Yes, Charity. My apologies. I saw in the Q&A. Has the government rolled out the date for CMMC when it will be required? Not yet, but it is dropping in October, and it's going to be rolled out in January, February, March next year. So that goes to going on GovBrief and finding out about that. I really appreciate you guys joining us. I have to jump because I have to prep for the next briefing with sam.gov. There's updated information, and I appreciate that, Rafa. Appreciate that. And you'll get a recap of this coming out over the course of the next couple of days. Any last minute questions from anybody before we jump out of here? Let me make sure I did this. Got you, Regina. Cecil, appreciate your feedback, especially. I always love Steve Kennedy being here. I appreciate you guys. All right. Anything else we need? Thumbs up if we did anything good. And we'll get you guys out of here. And if we didn't like it, then just don't come back. That's all I can say. Because we ain't changing. We're not changing. We're out here to help. All right, Teresa, you guys are welcome. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys next week. Or hey, anybody want to join me at 1 o'clock? Hop on with me. We'll do it. All right, guys. Rafa, you got any last minutes?
No, just wanted to thank everyone. And listen, if you haven't signed up for Thursday's webinar, you should. There is a lot you can and will learn from this free webinar. And it's how to best position your expertise to become known as a SME in the government circle or even in industry through GovBrief and through publications, right? It's setting your expertise aside. And we're going to have actual examples, people who are thriving right now as a result of our work that are going to be on this webinar, that are best-selling authors now and that are basically on every major television network as a result of this positioning strategy that we put together for them. So don't miss out on a great opportunity.
And I'm going to show you that. So if you go to GovBrief, hang on, where's my stuff? Where is this? I'm going to go here. I'm going to say GovBrief upcoming briefings. Let's go here. So we have this one, which is more important than the one on Thursday. I'm just kidding. Only because it's sooner.
Right.
And then we have this is becoming a government SME. And then
Yep.
they were asking questions about CMMC. This is this one. I really encourage you, if you do anything with DoD, and this is all going to get flow down. By the way, flow down, contract flow down. These two pieces is contract flow down, and this one right here, which is what is this? Come on, Dave. CMMC. What is happening with my thing here? Government SME and CMMC and this contract flow down and CMMC they're both on the same track. And your contract flow down for CMMC is coming to everybody, and it's going to be in every single contract just about in the government in the next couple of years. So you're going to want to know about that. So there you go. All right, folks, we're going to get you guys out of here. Thanks for sticking around. Register on GovBrief, and we'll see you there.